April 6, 1986. Asia's largest prison, Tihar Jail, had an unusually festive vibe that day. It was the birthday of an old inmate. Just a few months away from completing a 10-year sentence, this prisoner wanted to celebrate by offering sweets to everyone in the prison, a kind gesture to mark his upcoming release. In his 10 years behind bars, this inmate had never gotten into trouble. He was always cooperative with officers and fellow inmates, so the prison authorities approved his request without hesitation. Boxes of sweets, traditional Indian laddus, were brought in from a well-known shop. From prisoners to officers, everyone happily ate those sweets, except for one person, the inmate who arranged the celebration, because those sweets were laced with a powerful sedative, chlorpromazine. Within minutes, nearly everyone in Tihar fell into a deep sleep, and just like that, the prisoner vanished. The entire country erupted in shock, because this was no ordinary convict. The man who escaped was Charles Sobhraj, one of Southeast Asia's most wanted criminals, with connections to murders in Nepal, Thailand, India, and several other countries. A total of 20 confirmed homicides. A mastermind behind countless thefts, drug operations, and illegal arms dealings. But the world didn't know him as Charles. He was feared by another name, the Bikini Killer. Why such a name? What was the motive behind those brutal murders? And the biggest question, if he was just a few months away from freedom, why would he escape? So hello guys, this is Unseen Mysterious, and today's case is one of the most twisted, manipulative, and shocking criminal stories you'll ever hear. A case where every move reveals a deeper betrayal. And by the end, I guarantee you'll ask yourself, how can such a calm, charming man commit such monstrous crimes? So let's dive into the chilling story of the case of Charles Sobhraj. The year was 1944, and in Saigon, Vietnam, a boy named Charles Sobhraj was born. Full name, Hachand Baonani Guramukh Charles Sobhraj. His father was of Indian descent, while his mother was Vietnamese. They never married. Charles was the product of a brief romance, and soon after his birth, his father abandoned them and returned to India. His mother later married a French army officer and moved to France with Charles and their new child. But Charles never really fit in. With his parents now focused on the new child, Charles felt rejected and neglected, a trauma that many psychologists believe was the foundation of his disturbed mind. By his early teens, he had turned to crime, petty thefts, pickpocketing, and scams. In 1963, at just 19 years old, he was arrested for the first time and sentenced to 7 months in jail. It was in prison that he met Felix Descogne, a prison volunteer. Their bond grew beyond the prison walls. Felix introduced Charles to the French underworld, where he began committing bigger crimes and making serious money. During this time, he met and fell in love with a woman named Chantal. At first, Chantal had no idea about Charles's criminal life, but even after discovering the truth, she chose to stay and even agreed to marry him. Eventually, she became pregnant. But with law enforcement catching up, Charles forged passports and fled Europe with his pregnant wife. They tried starting over, but the web of international warrants followed them everywhere. So, in the late 1970s, Charles took Chantal, now heavily pregnant, and moved to India using a fake passport. They settled in Mumbai, where their daughter Usha was born. Despite having a child, Charles didn't change. He became entangled with Mumbai's underworld, stealing cars, forging documents, and scamming tourists. His first arrest in India happened when he was caught stealing jewelry at Delhi's famous Ashoka Hotel. But this wasn't a man who went down easily. As soon as he was arrested, he faked illness, and while being taken to the hospital, he escaped right under police noses. It was one of his many Houdini-like escapes, earning him the nickname the Serpent. After escaping, he fled to Afghanistan and from there to Thailand. And this is where his serial killer chapter truly begins. In Thailand, Sobhraj posed as a tour guide, targeting foreign tourists, especially young women from Europe or North America. He was charming, attractive, well-dressed, and spoke multiple languages, the kind of man women would easily trust. Even prison officials later said many women would come to visit him regularly in Tihar, enchanted by his charm, looks, and fragrance. Some high-profile Indian female journalists were even rumored to have been romantically involved with him. But behind this charisma was a cold-blooded killer. Charles had a pattern. He would befriend tourists in trouble, offer them help, nurse them back to health if needed, and gain their trust. Then, when they were most vulnerable, he'd drug them, steal their belongings, and murder them, often dumping their bodies near beaches. In one chilling case, 3 bodies of foreign women were found near a beach in Thailand, all wearing bikinis. The media couldn't identify the killer, but started calling the mystery man the Bikini Killer. That name stuck. Charles changed his identity constantly, using fake passports to move across Asia. In Nepal, he tried to drug and kill 2 tourists, but narrowly escaped police capture. Then he came to Kolkata, India, where he was finally arrested by Indian police in 1976. Charged with multiple murders, he was sentenced to 10 years in Tihar jail. But here's where his story takes another brilliant twist. Charles didn't want 10 years, he wanted 20. Why? Because under Thai law, if a murder suspect isn't prosecuted within 20 years, the charges expire. And if he were extradited to Thailand within that time, he would face the death penalty. But if he could stay hidden or imprisoned for 20 years, he'd walk free. So his plan was simple: get arrested in India and stay jailed until the 20-year Thai limit expired. When he was only sentenced to 10 years, he needed a plan to extend it. That's why in 1986, just a few months before his release, he drugged the entire prison and escaped, knowing full well that he'd get caught again and be sentenced to 10 more years, giving him exactly 20 years in Indian jail. And that's exactly what happened. He was caught in Goa, India, sentenced again, and served 20 years. A genius masterstroke that left everyone stunned. Upon his release in the 1990s, he went back to France and made a fortune by selling the rights to his life story for books and films. But in 2003, he made a baffling decision. He returned to Nepal, where he still had pending murder charges. A local journalist spotted him, and the police swooped in. Despite trying to hide his identity, Charles Sobhraj was arrested again, this time at 59 years old. And guess what? While in prison in Nepal, he fell in love again, with his own lawyer's daughter, Nishita Biswas, who was 22 years younger. They were reportedly engaged, though she later denied the relationship and married someone else. Sobhraj's health deteriorated in prison, and due to medical issues and good behavior, he was released early in December 2022 and returned to France, where he now lives a free man. Charles Sobhraj, the Bikini Killer, is a terrifying blend of cold-blooded cruelty and unmatched intelligence. A man who murdered without remorse and outsmarted some of the world's best law enforcement agencies. His story has inspired multiple movies and web series, including the recent Netflix show Black Warrant. If you want to dive deeper into the mind of this manipulative genius, definitely check that out. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and let me know in the comments what case we should explore next. Thank you for watching.